They can't all die first. Or can they? Let's talk about the new horror film, The Blackening. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Our Past. Today I'm here to talk to you about The Blackening, which comes to theaters on June 16th, 2023. It is a new horror comedy film that basically takes the idea of if every character in a horror movie is black, who has to die first? Now, it's a silly premise, it's a fun premise, and it is a jumping off point for a really fun, clever, entertaining horror film that kind of both bucks all the tropes and also embraces them wholeheartedly. My hot take is I think you should watch it. Look, it's a really funny film. It is laugh out loud funny. It definitely kind of takes on some horror tropes. It embraces them. It makes fun of them. It is just an entertaining all-around experience. It's not like a great horror movie, but it is a fully entertaining movie that you can tell loves the genre and loves the ridiculousness of this whole situation. So I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in the film, if you don't want to find out who dies first, then I would turn it off when I get to the ending section. But before that, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in The Blackening, you have a group of friends who are going to a secluded cabin in the woods for a Juneteenth celebration. They were all in college together. It's been 10 years, and they're finally going to have a big reunion where they all get to hang out, party, and catch up. But when they get there, they notice some weird things that have happened that make them think that maybe this weekend isn't all it's cracked up to be. So things I liked about this film. The first, I like the writing. It's pretty clever. Like the dialogue is really funny. It's sharp. It's entertaining. And the writing itself is both funny and prescient. Like you definitely get hints of what is going to happen in the writing itself. I like when horror films do this. I like when they kind of like drop hints here and there. And if you're paying attention, you can definitely get some little things here and there about what might be going on in the future. The second thing I loved is related to the writing, the humor. It's a really funny movie. Like this is both a testament to the writing itself and the cast. They both do a great job of just kind of making this film really funny. It is definitely one that embraces black stereotypes. It's definitely one that kind of like bucks those trends. And in doing that, it makes a laugh out loud funny film. I was laughing so much at this movie, and it is the most I've laughed in both a horror movie and most movies in general. It is just a really, really good, fun film to go to, and definitely one that if you love comedy or horror, you'll like this film. The third thing I really loved, I love the tropes. Like this is a movie that knows the horror genre, knows the horror tropes, and embraces them and kind of bucks those trends. And and this film really goes all in on it. There are so many different tropes. There's like things that they do that you're like, why would you do that? There's things that they do that they recognize that they shouldn't do. There's things that they do that other characters recognize they shouldn't do. It is definitely one that takes on all the different things that happen in horror movies and tries to really kind of pick at them and pry them up and see where they go. The fourth thing I love the cast. They all do a great job. They all kind of portray somewhat kind of out there characters perfectly. It is a really nice kind of mix of different black stereotypical characters for this film that kind of tries to embrace and buck black stereotypes. It is a clever group. They're definitely all in, and the different personalities mesh really well with all the other things I liked about it to make an entertaining horror film and just an entertaining film in general. And the last thing I love the practical effects. You can't have a good horror movie without practical effects, and this one definitely does it. That might be because of budget. They might not have had the budget to do some crazy out there CG, but I think it's better for it. I think it's a better film because they don't do that. They definitely focus on the practical side of things, and it makes for a better overall horror film. Look, you can't have a good horror movie in general without good practical effects, and this film does it well. It doesn't have a ton of them, but where they do have the effects, they definitely went on the practical side. So that being said, things I guess I didn't love as much. There really wasn't anything. I mean, if I had to pick something, it's not a super scary movie. It's not like a super scary horror movie, which is fine because that's not 100% what this film is going for. I am perfectly happy when the entertainment value of the film outweighs the horror aspects of the movie. And it definitely has some horror elements in it as well. They're just not as scary. But that being said, The Blackening is a really entertaining film. I really enjoyed it. It is definitely a fun experience. It's one, if you like comedy, if you like horror, if you like to see these tropes, then you will definitely enjoy this movie. So check it out on June 16, 2023. I'm going to go into the ending now. So if you want to know who dies first, if you want to know what happens in this movie, I will keep going, but just know that there are spoilers. So in The Blackening, you have a group of 8 friends who are gathering in a secluded cabin for the weekend for a Juneteenth celebration and also just to reunite. They hadn't seen each other in about 10 years. They kind of have drifted off into various aspects of their life, and now they're all coming back together for a big, fun reunion. Now, a few weird things happen. First, two of the characters, Shawn and Morgan, arrive early to the cabin the night before, probably to get things set up, make sure they're there when the rest of the group comes in. They get there and discover this creepy game called the Blackening. It is a racial stereotype kind of game that they find they probably shouldn't play it, because if you're in a horror movie and you go into a room and there is a weird, creepy game, probably shouldn't play it. They end up playing it. It doesn't go well for them. Shawn, who's played by Jay Pharoah, in a very, very brief appearance, which they kind of reference in the game itself, gets killed early on. And Morgan, played by Yvonne Orji, seems to maybe get killed, but you don't know what happens. So to answer the question of who dies first, the first person who dies is Shawn, played by Jay Pharoah. So that's the start. There's some creepy game. It seems to have bad consequences. These two characters are out of the picture. The rest of the group arrives the next day. Now, the first weird thing is that they all said that there were 8 friends, but 9 people arrive. It's all the people that kind of know each other, and this, I don't know, strange character from college named Clifton, who no one seems to be really great friends with, but he says he got the invite, so everyone just kind of like takes his word and comes in. Now, we start reconnecting, they start playing games. So during the party, some strange stuff happens, but eventually the lights just shut off. And so the group goes to try to find the fuse box, and when they're looking for the fuse box, they notice that this room in the far corner that used to be locked, now the door is unlocked, and there's a sign that says game room. They go in, they find the same game that Morgan and Shawn found earlier, but this time the kind of old school black and white tube TV turns on, and they get a message from the game itself that tells them that they have to play. They have to answer 10 questions. If they get them all right, Morgan lives. If they get one wrong, Morgan dies. If they refuse to play, they all die. So they're kind of in a bind. There's not really much they can do. So they decide to play. They do pretty well. They answer all these fun, kind of stereotypical questions. But eventually they get one kind of right. It's a humorous answer, but they kind of get one wrong. So it seems like Morgan might be out of luck. Eventually they go to try to save Morgan. They can't save her. They're not really sure what happens. And they all end up back in the game room after this encounter with the killer. In the game room, the game speaks up again and tells them that they have to essentially choose one person to sacrifice. They have to pick the blackest character of these 7 remaining friends to sacrifice to save them all. They all choose Clifton, mostly because they don't like him. Send him out. He eventually gets shot. It seems like now Clifton is gone too. So there's 6 remaining friends. They don't really know what to do. They're kind of trapped in this game room. And that's when the game tells them that they now have essentially to choose to either stay in the house or try to run. They've got 3 minutes to decide, and then everything will happen. What are they going to do? This is the sudden death round. Now, they can't decide. 3 of them want to stay in the house. 3 of them want to run. So they decide to split up. Again, it's a horror movie. You should never split up, but they decide to anyways. So 3 of the friends, Shanika, King, and Allison, decide to go run for it outside. The other 3 friends, Nnamdi, Dewayne, and Lisa, decide to stay in the house and see what happens. So let's first start with the group that decides to leave. They make a run for it. They're trying to figure out how to get to town. Apparently, they make a wrong turn. They end up at a lake. Now, they lose Allison on the way. Dewayne is hurt, and apparently he can't swim. And Shanika decides she's going to swim for the other side of the lake, see if she can get help. As she's going, before she leaves, Dewayne climbs a tree. Shanika goes and starts swimming. The killer, who is this like person dressed all in black with this like weird, kind of like blackface-ish, kind of S&M looking mask and a crossbow, approaches, sees Shanika swimming, starts firing at her. He misses. She like taunts him, and eventually King pounces on him from the trees, puts up a good fight, but eventually cramps up because of some of the things he ate earlier. It seems like this might be the end for our friend King. But no, here comes Allison. She is hyped up on Adderall, ready to go. She takes out the killer. She beats him handily, stabs him with some crossbow bolts. The first killer's down. Now, they don't do a double tap, which I think they probably should have. That is always what you have to do. But they think he's dead. They unmask him. It ends up being like one of the creepy convenience store clerks that they saw earlier. They look in his wallet. They see like who it is. They don't really know this person, but they think maybe this is like a racist person. Maybe he's just a hired killer. They don't really know exactly what to do. But they do know that they should probably go back and see if the other people are okay. Now, back to the people in the house. They eventually go down to the basement to see if Morgan's okay. They find all these cameras, like a control room. They don't see Morgan, but they see this really, really kind of deep, like well type thing. They go back up, and that's when a police ranger that they saw earlier, this ranger named Ranger White, shows up. He says that they were yelling. He went to go check on them. He wanted to make sure that they were okay. They follow him. They get in his police car, and then Ranger White says that he saw something up ahead. He's gonna go check on it. They all decide to stay in the car, and while they're there, they find in Ranger White's car another one of those creepy masks, one of the creepy killer masks that the killer's wearing, and they think, uh-oh, like this is all a setup. Ranger White's gonna kill them. They lock the door. Ranger White comes later, banging on the door, saying like, "Hey, look, like, help me, I need help." They're like, "No, no, 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 no." They show him the mask. He's like, "Okay, yeah, that looks weird, but I found it earlier. That's the reason I came to go check on you. Help me, help me." They all say, "No, no, no." That's when Ranger White gets shot in the neck. Apparently, he was telling the truth, although it was a weird situation, to be fair to our heroes. But now Ranger White's gone. All three of the friends, here it's Dewayne, Nnamdi, and Lisa. They all run back into the house, and they're hiding in this vent. Now, Dewayne mentioned earlier that he gets physically sick when he gets nervous. It's a pretty nervous situation. They're hiding from this killer who is walking around the house. Eventually, the killer figures out that they're in the vent, pops up and says peekaboo, and that's when Dwayne's nerves get the best of him. He vomits all over the killer through the vent, covering the killer. The killer falls back stunned. They all pop out and they beat him up. Dewayne starts fighting them. Nnamdi gets a little bit, and then eventually Lisa goes crazy and just finishes him off completely. We're looking in this killer's wallet. It is Clive Connor, and at this point, they see the other friends meet up. They all realize that there are two killers. They look at their IDs. They look at a picture. It seems like these two live in this house that they have rented, and they are twin brothers. They also find an envelope with each of their the friends' initials in there, and $100 next to each of their names. So apparently, the killers were only paid $800 to take them all out. A pretty low sum. But I guess you get what you pay for. It seems like none of these friends died. The first two friends died, but it seems like none of these friends died. So all's well that ends well, right? Well, not really. They hear something from the basement. Most of the friends go down to the basement. And in the basement, you see Ranger White and Clifton dead at the table. And in Clifton's pocket is this old newspaper article about how Clifton accidentally hit someone when he was drunk in college and got charged with vehicular manslaughter. Okay, that's a weird connection. And then the TV turns on. And you see Clifton in these Breaking Bad scrubs taking some bodies and dumping them in the well. So it seems like Clifton was the mastermind behind this entire plot. The friends all turn to Clifton. Clifton pops up and tells them to stop. He tells them he rigged the entire house with explosives, and they have to do what he says. So here we find out Clifton's ultimate plot. Now, Clifton apparently went to a party that this whole group threw years ago when they were in college. He was excited to go there. He was excited to kind of interact with people that he felt comfortable with, people that he said looked like him. But I guess he grew up in Vermont, so he didn't really know exactly how to interact with other Black people. And so he got made fun of because he couldn't play spades. When he was playing, he made a mistake because he didn't know how to play. And then he got made fun of. They kind of, quote unquote, took away his black card. And he was so embarrassed that he drank for the first time in his life and then drove away. Now, he was so drunk apparently that he didn't see the person until they were right in front of him. He ended up hitting someone that ruined his life, and because of this, he blamed these friends for ruining his life. He saw how their lives progressed after college and how his didn't, and he got jealous of them, so he decided to stage this whole endeavor to get revenge. So in here you've got Nnamdi, Lisa, Dewayne, and Shanika. They're all lined up, and he basically tells them to kind of make their own choice. Essentially, the same choice that they made when they kicked him out of the room, they have to make to choose the blackest of all of them to be the first person to die. But during this whole ordeal, up top, you've got King and Allison. They're trying to mess with some of the controls that they found, and while they're doing this, they end up turning off the lights. Now, this causes some confusion. This causes Dewayne to go and try to take out Clifton. Shanika ends up with a crossbow. It's dark. She can't really tell what to do, but they direct her to the right person. She ends up shooting Clifton with the crossbow. He gets hit in the side. And then Dewayne throws chili powder on him, which was a joke weapon that he got earlier on when they kind of ran out of other weapons, but it works effectively here. He throws chili powder in Clifton's face. Clifton is blinded, and Dewayne kicks him into the well, just like Clifton did to both Morgan and Shawn. So it seems like they've survived. 6 of the friends survived. Only 2 died. That's actually pretty good for a horror movie. That's a pretty low body count, but as the camera pans down the well, you hear a laugh. So maybe Clifton is alive. Maybe there will be a sequel. You don't know. But that's the Blackening, and there is a, like, I don't know, during credits scene. During the credits, there are a couple like funny scenes that happen when you have the 6 remaining friends trying to figure out what to do. Like they're wondering, like, should they call the cops? Well, they don't want to do that because the cops are going to roll up. There's a bunch of bodies. They're all black. They're trying to figure out how to minimize their own risk. So they decide they're not going to call the cops. Then you get a second credit scene where Dewayne had the idea they're going to call the firemen because the firemen don't have weapons. So if they show up, they're not going to end up shooting them. Well, unfortunately for this group, the firemen show up and you see this just like, here's the only CG answer. You see the CG hose come and like spray water, push them all aside. That's the end of the movie. That is the last scene. I mean, they didn't get killed, but they did get kind of assaulted by the firemen. So that is The Blackening. It comes to theaters on June 16, 2023. Like I said, it's a really funny movie. If you like horror, if you like comedy, if you like black humor, then you're going to love this film. Definitely check it out. It is a unique movie. It's one of the better horror movies I've seen this year, and it's just a ton of fun. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.